Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, Books Baking Glitter. I am Candace and today I'm going to do the mid-year freakout tag. So I've read, as of today, 62 books this year. And looking at the books I've read, I was like, wow, it feels like looking at the list, I'm just like, oh, this doesn't seem like very much. But I've read a lot of audiobooks this year, and I think that's just makes it kind of fly by. I do audiobooks at double speed, like the monster that I am, but I'm a really slow reader in real life, and so reading audio at double speed makes me feel superhuman, and so I'm not stopping anytime soon. There are some books that I will slow down depending on the narrator, but for the most part I do double speed. Looking at everything I've read, I was like, wow, I've read a lot on audio, I've read a lot of nonfiction. Lately, I think kind of like a lot of people, I'm reading a lot of books about anti-racism and about how to be a better ally to people in the Black community. And so a lot of my reading lately has been educational, which is great. I've read a lot of great nonfiction books, but digging into some of these questions and stuff, it wasn't like I'm like reading the top fantasy books this year and stuff. So I do think on the second half of the year, I've realized I do want to focus a little more on fiction over nonfiction, and I am definitely going to be prioritizing more Black authors and more BIPOC authors. So hopefully this list might look a little bit different at the end of the year, but this was fun to go through and like look back at everything I've read so far. So we are going to dive in. I got everything on my phone, and so we will just go down the list. All right, so question number one is the best book you've read so far in 2020. So I put two down, and they are both nonfiction, and they are both like memoir essay collections. So the first one is Good Talk by Mira Jacobs, and this is actually a graphic novel, but I got it on audio, which I did not realize it was a graphic novel until after I read it and I went to review it, and I was like, oh my gosh, because it was fantastic on audio. It had a full cast, so all the different characters were read by different people, but the author, Mira Jacobs, actually reads essentially her portion of the memoir, and then like she has people acting out like her kid and her husband and her parents, and so this is a great memoir. It's kind of set right before and right after like 9/11, also, and then kind of going up until the presidential election in 2016, and her as a South Asian woman, a bisexual woman, how her life was during that time, meeting her husband, becoming a writer, having a kid, having to explain to her kid about the state of the world today and everything that happened during the election. And so this was great. Like, I still really want to read the graphic novel, but the audio, fantastic. One of the best audiobooks I've ever listened to, so highly recommend. You could just do both. I recommend just doing both. All right, and so the second book I picked is Wow No Thank You by Samantha Irby. I love everything she writes. I think this is her third or fourth book, and I've always done them on audio and super recommend them on audio. She reads them, but this one, I feel like I have just a kinship with Samantha Irby. We have very similar digestive issues, which is, if you've read her books, I think you'll kind of understand, but it feels like a kinship there that people don't talk about that stuff, and so it's very refreshing to read in a memoir. She's hilarious. She, talks about moving to kind of the middle of the country and being a queer woman, a queer Black woman, and just honestly, just read her books. But this newest one was fantastic, and I just loved it so much. But I think that Samantha Irby could literally read the phone book on an audiobook and I would listen. So I'm a fan for life. I love her. All right, question number two, the best sequel you've read so far this year. So it was probably 5 years ago, I think, that I started reading the Firebird series by Claudia Gray. And when COVID happened and all of my coworkers at work started working from home, and I was like one of 2 people that have been in the office, I kind of realized, wow, I don't have people interrupting me every 5 minutes, and I can actually just listen to an audiobook. And also it kind of felt like the world was caving in, and so I decided to go back and finish the Firebird series. So I read the first 2. The last one, A Million Worlds with You, I think came out, gosh, it might have been 2015, but it might have been 2017. I can't remember. That was definitely a great series. Like, I feel like it wrapped everything up really nicely. It's great science fiction. It's about other dimensions and traveling through dimensions, and how that can get very messy, and also a lot of ethics that is involved, because literally in the Firebird series, when you travel to another dimension, you go into the body of the person that is there, and you're like inhabiting it. And if you essentially don't get like shocked by your Firebird, the little contraption they use to travel through dimensions, you can like lose yourself, and because you'll slowly become the person in that universe again. But there's a lot of ethical stuff that goes with that, because you're literally in somebody else's body, even though it's your body, but it's a different dimension of you body. And so it was very interesting to see how she explored that and how it all wrapped up. These books could kind of technically be categorized as romance, and I like that. I know a lot of people don't like to have romance in their science fiction and their fantasy, but I do, and I've come to accept that over the years, because I felt very like, oh no, like it doesn't need to have a romance. I'm like, now I'm like, no, I like romance. I like romance and space and time travel and interdimensional travel, so it can have both. It's okay, guys. There's nothing wrong with love, but there's also nothing wrong with not love. But I like love. All right. So question number 3, a new release you haven't read yet, but you want to. So I actually had told myself this year that I wasn't really gonna buy books. I was gonna utilize the library a lot, which I'm happy to say most of my reading has come from the library. Especially lately with ebooks and audiobooks. But for Blackout bestseller week, a couple weeks ago, where everyone on Bookstagram was really supporting Black authors, and something that I hope will continue onward. I bought a bunch of books, and so 2 that I haven't started yet that I'm very excited for are A Song of Race and Ruin by Roseanna A. Brown. Look at the cover, it's so pretty. And this is like fantasy. I am very, very excited, and I will link below all the books that I'm listing here so you can check them out. And then so I went with fantasy, and then I also went with like science fiction. And this is The City We Become by N.K. Jemisin, and I am very embarrassed to say I own a lot of N.K. Jemisin books. I kind of would like buy them on my Kindle whenever like I saw them like on sale, but I've never actually read N.K. Jemisin. So this is the year. I bought another N.K. Jemisin book in print, but this is the one I'm very much looking forward to. So got a little science fiction, a little fantasy. I'm kind of hoping that I'm reading more science fiction and fantasy again at the end of the year. Like I said, I've read a lot of nonfiction, and I feel like I'm ready to like actually start reading some otherworldly stuff again. I miss it. I don't think I realized how much I missed it until I haven't been reading it very much. So question number 4, most anticipated release for the second half of the year. So I like to read romance, and I like to read small town romance, and I love this series by Annie Raines, and it's the Sweetwater Spring series, and this is her newest book that comes out on, I believe it's the 28th. It's either the 21st or the 28th, from Forever. And this is Sunshine on Silver Lake, and this is the 5th book in the Sweetwater Spring series. It's very cute, very PG. Any sexy times are usually like behind closed doors, but I just love this series. It makes me happy. It feels kind of like a Hallmark romance, which I think sometimes we just need that. And so this is at a perfect time. Thank you Forever for sending me a finished copy. And I am very excited to start this. I'm kind of planning, I think I'm planning on starting that this weekend. So that is perfect for the second half of the year. Question number 5, biggest disappointment. So I feel like I'm going to be crucified for this, but I hated Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Sorry. I even did it on audio, which was like recommended by everybody. I did not like it at all. It just felt, I felt really bad for the lead guy in the band's wife. And I think I just was empathizing with her and all the shit she was going through the whole book. And Daisy Jones was just such a mess. And I think it reminded me a lot of me being like a mess in my 20s. And I just was like, oh, this is like, but I've grown. And like, you kind of was hoping to see her grow, but we don't get that as much. Because we're just kind of concentrating on them being this band in like the 70s and being like a mess. And so I did not love it. My book club all really liked it, and I understand why people like it. And I think if I liked Fleetwood Mac really, like I guess maybe I would like it, but it just wasn't my jam. But it's your jam, great, I totally get it. I have no, I'm not gonna say anything else ill about it. We all like what we like, so. All right, question number 6, biggest surprise. So, Open Book by Jessica Simpson blew me out of the water. I did not expect, I thought I was like, oh, this is just gonna be silly and light and fun. Like I love celebrity memoirs. I also had read Busy Phillips' memoir this year, which is great. But the Jessica Simpson memoir was fantastic, and it was great on audio. She reads it. She has like 6 songs at the end of the book that she wrote while like writing the book. They're great. I listened to Jessica Simpson a little bit growing up, but like I was like on that edge of when her and Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera were coming out, that I was like kind of going into like high school and like junior high and high school. And so I was kind of growing out of my like pop phase. I did color guard in high school, and so we used their songs for like warm-ups and things like that. But this book was great. If you like celebrity gossip, if you like someone spilling the tea on other celebrities, this is the book you need to read. And even if you are not like a big fan of hers, it doesn't matter. Like if you know any vague stuff about celebrities from the early, like late 90s, early 2000s in Hollywood, I think you'll enjoy this. It was so much fun. Like I tell everybody about it, and like I had gotten recommended it from some people in my book club. And so like I've been telling everyone, like, you have to read this book. So I'm telling you now, you need to read this book on audio. These are like I said, one of the best celebrity memoir audiobooks. Maybe the best celebrity memoir that I've read. Like, yeah, awesome. All right, question number 7, favorite new author. So, Sajni Patel, who wrote The Trouble with Hating You, absolutely loved that book. It came out a couple months ago, and it is like an enemies to lovers romance, which I love. And this book was just awesome. Like, it took me a little bit to get into, but I've kind of had that with most fiction that I've read this year, that I've just kind of, unless it's on audio, because like I said, I can just blow through those at double speed. I can finish a book in a day or two. But I'm such a slow reader in print, and I was reading this in print, but once I got to like 50%, I blew through it in like a few days. And so it's fantastic. She's great. She's got like a YA book coming out, I believe, early next year. And then there is going to be sequels to The Trouble with Hating You that I think start coming out next year. Because that's the best thing about romances, is that you get extensions. You get the extended universe. And like, you don't have to read romance books in order. So you can literally pick them up and you know, you'll see like a background character that might be in a different book, but you don't need to like know their story. It's not like fantasy and science fiction that you need to actually read them in order. So highly recommend checking her out. She's like, love her. Will read anything she writes from now on. All right, so I'm gonna kind of combine questions 8 and 9. So question 8 is newest fictional crush, and number 9 is newest favorite character. And this goes to Asajj Ventress from Star Wars. So she has been a character in like the Clone Wars series, and she is a bad guy, and then she kind of turns into a good guy, and like she's like very much an anti-hero who has a very traumatic past, and I love her. So my Star Wars read and watch through essentially started from the beginning with the Count Dooku book. For right now, I finished Revenge of the Sith, and I'm starting onto the Vader comics. So I've essentially finished all the prequel stuff at this point, and we're leading up to the events of the original trilogy. So all the stuff in the middle, a lot of the stuff in the middle is Clone Wars stuff, and I'd never read or watched anything from it. And to be honest, like when the prequels started to come out, I loved The Phantom Menace. I was in junior high when that came out, and was obsessed. And then as the other ones came out, kind of in high school, I wasn't watching them as regularly. But now as an adult, I look back and I'm like, these are great. They're fun. And so to get to read all the other stuff that kind of happened in between, it makes me happy. So Asajj Ventress has been an awesome character to follow. And this kind of leads into question 10, which is a book that made you cry. And that was Star Wars Dark Disciple, which kind of finishes Asajj Ventress's story arc, and it was unused scripts from the Clone Wars series. And I did not expect to cry from this book, but I was listening to the audiobook, which Star Wars audiobooks are fantastic because they usually have sound effects in the background. So if they're in a fight in space, they will have those Star Wars sounds. And so like you feel like you're in the story. It's like you're watching a movie, but it's listening to an audiobook. So Dark Disciple was great, and I did not expect to get all the feelings, but I got all the feelings, and it was so good. I was like at work, literally in my cubicle alone, because like I said, there's only like 2 or 3 of us at work at a time, and I'm just like, oh. I mean, obviously no spoilers here, but absolutely, if you're a Star Wars fan, read that book. You do not, I mean, I guess it's helpful if you've watched the Clone Wars series. It kind of takes place before, from what I can gather, it kind of takes place before the last season that aired recently this year on Disney Plus. And so, you know, if you have some idea of the Clone Wars, I think you could listen to it. But really just like watch the Clone Wars. If you can, you do have to get through the first season. It's a little rough, but once you're through it, it's so worth it. It gets so much better. Oh my gosh. If you hung in through that, thanks guys. All right, question number 11, a book that made you happy. So as I kind of mentioned I finished reading the Firebird series. I decided to do that as well with the To All the Boys I Loved Before series. I read To All the Boys I Loved Before many moons ago, and I thought, well, I didn't watch the movie, and the second movie came out, and I was like, well, I kind of want to watch them both, but I want to have read the books up to that point. So I, once again on audio, a lot of audiobooks, I listened to the first one, watched that movie, then listened to the second one, and watched that movie, and then immediately went into the third. And those books just make you feel good. They make you want to go bake something. They make you, like, long for really good rom-coms that I'm so glad that we're getting so many more of those. And I'm very excited for the final movie. I know that they've already been throwing out teasers. I don't know when we'll get it with everything happening and Hollywood being shut down, but you know, I've hoped that maybe next year, maybe late next year we'll get it. I don't know. I have no rumors or idea of any of this, but I'm gonna keep my fingers crossed. So All right, and question number 12, the most beautiful you've bought so far this year. And so this is a book I am currently reading now. The book, this is beautiful. I definitely was attracted to this book because of the cover, and then I read the description and I was like, oh my god, it sounds so good. And I'm only 2 chapters in, but I am very much enjoying it so far, and I just have such a good feeling about it. And it is A Song Below Water by Bethany C. Morrow. Look at this cover, guys. Oh, it's so beautiful. It's so pretty. And I love yellow. Yellow is one of my favorite colors. And like, look at this. It's just in like, oh, that's upside down for you guys. Like with that like metallic blue, it just, it's just like, I'm assuming this question can be interpreted however you want, with aesthetically pleasing. And this is, and I've bought, you know, like I said, I've bought some new print books this year. I do mostly read on ebook, but I've kind of missed buying print books, and I know that Amazon is not the most ethical place. So when I was trying to buy from Black-owned bookstores, I utilized bookshop.org, which is great, because at the time I didn't realize I couldn't find a Black-owned bookstore in Portland, and now, like, as soon as I placed this order, I found one, and it's great. And they're currently, they're called Third Eye Books. They're currently looking for a new place because a lot of businesses lost their locations because of COVID, which is sad. But if you have a way to support people outside of that, like, and so they're actually looking at a way to bump up their online ordering, so I'm hoping to start supporting them as well. But I ordered this from bookshop.org, and I supported Semicolon Bookstore. They are a Black woman-owned bookstore in Chicago, and my brother lives in Chicago with his husband, so I thought, why not support a bookstore there? And I was very excited. This was back ordered for a while, but it is about like a black siren is essentially a book that is set in modern day Portland, Oregon, where there are mythical creatures, and sirens are kind of like outlawed, and so she has to keep being a siren as a secret. But I'm only 2 chapters in. There is right now a gargoyle on the roof of her home, and I am very excited to see what that's about. But yes, this is like, so far so good. Like, look at the back of it. Like, it's just so pretty. I love pretty. Finally, on to question number 13. What books do you need to read by the end of the year? Well, that's too many to name, but I will give you a little teaser. Besides the 3 books that I showed that are all by Black authors, I have told myself that I really need to prioritize reading more Black authors this year. And I think it's something that we all should be doing, because it's one thing to read, it's great to read literature that is educational about anti-racism, especially if this is something that is new to you. And I think it's something that, even if you think that you know everything about it, if you think you're being anti-racist, I think it's good to still read stories from different authors, read books that will help you examine that. But I also realize I do need to read more fiction by Black authors. So some of these I've owned for a while, and some of these are new that I bought. And I am planning on doing like a more of a full video of everything I bought during the Blackout bestseller week. But these are the ones that I am prioritizing. So I have these stacked on top of my bookshelf so I can look at them and be like, yes. So we have Boy Snow Bird by Helen Oyemi, The Beauty That Remains by Ashley Woodfolk, How Long Till Black Future Month by N.K. Jemisin, Homegoing by Yasi, and then The Children of Blood and Bone, the first 2 books by Tony Adeyemi. And I'm sorry if I'm butchering names, I'm so sorry, I apologize. But these are books that I am prioritizing, and they're a wide variety, but it is a lot of fantasy. You know, this is like a Snow White retelling, Boy Snowbird, and then some historical fiction, some literary fiction, and some science fiction. So a nice little variety here. On top of the 3 books that I showed earlier, and then obviously I have a lot of romances I need to read, I have a lot of books from NetGalley on my iPad right now that I need to read and review. But yeah, I don't really like to make TBRs because I don't want to get locked in and feel guilty, but because I just like, I'll put things on a TBR and they go, what else can I read? And then go read something else. Or something will come from the library and I go, oh, I need to read that. But yeah, so this is it. Guys, I'll put this down. So that's it, guys. So thank you for watching. I'm trying to figure out how long to make videos, and so this is a little long, and obviously I'm going to edit it down, but thank you for watching, and please let me know if any of the books that I mentioned here are things that you've read before. I'd love to hear what you think. I'd love to know what's on your mid-year freakout tag. I'll post the questions below. That's how I found the questions, was from someone else's mid-year freakout video. So, and I'll say, I'm not freaking out about reading this year. My reading goal is 75 books. I let my husband, Nate, set that every year, and he picked 75. I'm at 62 right now, but like I said, so if I read less books in the second half of the year, but I'm reading more widely, or I'm reading more of the things that I want, or I'm reading more in print rather than audio, just to switch things up a bit and actually read the books I own, which is another big goal I think for this year, is to actually read some of the books I own because I utilize the library so much. So, and I'm excited because I actually keep a spreadsheet of all my stats. And so at the end of the year, I will definitely make a video and show you guys all the stats that I have of the books I read this year. And I have been very happy to see like my little charts and graphs that actually have been moving a little bit further away from a full circle of white authors and, you know, straight authors and stuff. So I'm really trying to read more broadly, because when I looked at that a month or two ago and I was like, whew, like I should have known better. So I'm trying, and I'm much happier now that I feel like I'm reading such a nice wide variety. But I'm excited to read the books that I have and to share them with you all. And so let me know what you're reading right now, and thank you for watching. Hit like and subscribe. You can hit the little bell, and I think it'll tell you when I post. I'm working on figuring out what my posting schedule will be for the week. My hope is to have at least one video a week, and just trying to figure out when's the best time to post that. And at first, I don't know, if I'm so excited I might be posting more than once a week, but I want to be realistic here. And so yeah, keep an eye out, and thank you for watching. Bye.